The life cycle of a frog. Step 1. Eggs. A frog begins life as a fertilized egg. A female frog lays 1,000 and 2,000 eggs at one time in a pond. The eggs float on water in a jelly mass or cluster. The eggs will soon hatch into tadpoles. Step 2. Tadpoles. The tadpole eats plants and algae from the water and grows for several weeks. During this time, the tadpole starts to develop lungs so it will be able to breathe out of the water when it becomes a frog. The tadpole also starts to grow two hind legs. Step 3. Young frog. The tadpole uses the nutrients stored in its tail as food, so until its tail is completely gone, it doesn't need anything else to eat. Then, just a little stub of its tail is left, and the tadpole is a young frog. It then swims up to shore and walks on dry land for the first time in its life. Step 4. Adult frog. The frog's tail will eventually disappear completely, and it will start to eat insects instead of plants from the water. It will grow for about 2 to 4 years to become an adult. When in the wild, frogs live from 5 to 8 years in the natural habitat, which consists of swampy waters. The life cycle of a pine tree. Step 1. Strobulus. The life cycle of a pine tree begins in the strobulus, the sexual reproductive structure in a fully mature pine tree. Strobili are also known as the pine cones. Male strobili are in the lower part of the tree, while the female structures are in the upper part. Step 2. Pollination. The female strobulus creates 4 megaspores, which contain chromosomes. Out of the 4 megaspores, one will survive and become a megagametophyte. The pollination stage of a pine tree life lasts for approximately 1 year, until the megagametophyte develops egg cells. Step 3. Fertilization. In fertilization, the egg cells of the megagametophyte come into contact with the pollen tube. When this happens, the pollen tube inserts 2 nuclei into the egg cells. The nuclei acts as sperm. One of the nuclei will join with the nucleus within the egg. This union forms a zygote. Eventually, the zygote will develop into a seed, which contains an embryo. The seed is dispersed from the female strobulus via the wind or wildlife species such as birds or insects. Step 4. Growth. In general, pine tree species needs full sunlight for maximum growth. Pine trees prefer acidic or sandy soils. However, they are able to grow in environments that are difficult for other trees, such as rocky sites, limestones, and habitats at high altitudes. Pine trees can grow up to 150 feet tall and have a lifespan of over 100 years.